On today's Windows Wednesday, I remind everybody why I switched to Linux. This news, of course, has been going around that Microsoft finally admits that pretty much every major core function of Windows 11 is broken in some way. If you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below. And of course, I switched to Linux mostly because I am a privacy advocate first, and I don't care as much that everything works 100% at every little bit, and there's no possible way to break something, get over it. There's always going to be system bugs out there, things like that. So I don't mind things like that. But when the operating system manufacturer comes out and basically admits every core feature of our operating system is effectively broken in some way, even if it's minor, it's like, okay, what are y'all doing? I switched to Linux, of course, because of privacy first. I saw what Windows 10 was doing, that they were collecting a whole bunch of telemetry. They were pushing it out to everybody. There was no way to turn it off, and I didn't want to be any part of any of that. And that's why I kind of started with this approach to say, let's look around at other options. I had a Mac at the time. I didn't like Mac platform. I had it just so I could be aware of how to use it and things like that. But the fact of the matter is that I switched to Linux for that privacy reason. Now, of course, Windows is being forced into this agentic AI nonsense. They're even adding in some wake words, which, by the way, wake words have always meant the operating system is always listening. We saw that from the Alexa cases. Some of the cases of Alexa, it is always listening. It just responds to you if you use the wake word. So that's kind of frightening. So I'm glad I am happily on the Linux bus. And I do wish that Windows came out with a way that didn't require all this online nonsense and didn't require all of these forced approaches to the way they're doing things. And if they did that, hey, I might keep a Windows computer around for the lulz of it, I guess. But the fact of the matter is, they're not. That brings us to this week's article. Microsoft finally admits almost all major Windows 11 core features are broken. Wonderful. So it's been a troublesome week or two for Microsoft. Of course, they had the 365 outage, made the files unusable. Very frightening because your Windows computer now with Office 365 is now defaulting to putting everything in the cloud first and really only putting it on your hard drive if you really work around it a lot. So that's kind of fun. At least over here on Linux, when I write up a document, it stays on my computer unless I explicitly put it online. So, there's small graces for that. So a bunch of people weren't able to access documents because of the Office 365 downage, of course. We've had a few fun internet outages recently. Downtimes like this seem to happen on a fairly regular basis. Meanwhile, on the Windows side, it's probably been worse. The tech giant blamed NVIDIA today as the latest Patch Tuesday is leading to performance issues in games. So Windows breaks the drivers for NVIDIA on a Patch Tuesday and then blames the video card that has been in there all the time. So NVIDIA actually releases a hotfix driver to fix the problem. Yay for NVIDIA, I guess. But then, of course, they had a massive backlash as the Windows CEO, the head of Windows projects, is like, we're turning this into agentic AI because everybody wants AI crammed down every single facet of their face, And so there was always that. How wonderful. And then, though, on the positive side, they did actually acknowledge Windows has some problems. And it's a fun cue. The company, in a new support article, has admitted there are problems on almost every major Windows 11 core feature. From XAML and the impacts on the shell components like the start menu, taskbar, Explorer, Windows settings. Let's not to mention, we didn't cover it. It wasn't big enough of a story, but the task manager a couple weeks ago, it had a bug in it where if you closed it, it would just reopen itself up multiple times. And so every time you closed it, it multiplied. And all this was done because AI wrote code that was buggy somewhere. And of course, how'd you stop it? Well, running PowerShell commands. Isn't that kind of funny too? Because people are like, I don't want to use Linux. I got to use the command line. Well, to fix all this Windows crap, what are they issuing? They're actually issuing us shell scripts to run to fix the crap. Go and figure. Well, Microsoft is only acknowledging the issue in November 2025. This particular problem has been around since July. Also, since Windows 11 25H2 shares the same code base as 24H2, the newest Windows 11 feature update is also impacted. So after provisioning a PC with Windows 11 version 24H2 monthly cumulative updates, or after July 2025, various apps such as Start Menu, Experience Host, Search, System Settings, Taskbar, or Explorer might experience difficulties. Is that like reading the fine print on the prescription bottles? May contain all sorts of things far, far, far worse than the symptoms of the illness you're treating it for, this will occur for the following: the first time user login after accumulation update was applied, and all user logins to a non-persistent OS such as virtual desktop infrastructure or an equivalent application packages must be installed on each login in such scenarios. So if you're wondering, provisioning essentially is the same way admins configure devices. They automatically deploy. Okay, wonderful. And so what are they doing to fix these? Well, here's actually the observed problems. We have the Explorer that is like runs everything in the computer. We have the shell host, wonderful. Then we have the start menu stuff, wonderful. System settings won't launch, wonderful. And so many other issues. So they're working on it, but for now, here's a couple of workarounds. So go into your shell and execute these random scripts that you have copied and pasted from the internet. And y'all are telling me, I can't use Linux because they got that command on thing and I can't figure it out. Looks like to fix your Windows bugs, you need to get in there and do it. You may as well do it on a system that consistently works. Heck, guys, I took my life in my own hands the other day. I have to admit, I don't supply security patches as often as I should sometimes, and I let my Endeavor computer run for probably 6 months without an update. All right. And the only one issue that I could have experienced was a known issue that was caused by a change in some of the package infrastructure, something similar to what Debian did, moving, drivers and firmware and stuff out of different repositories. And so the Endeavor OS forums had a posted notice about it at the top. Oh, you just take the posted notice, fix that, run your updates. After 6 months, I updated an Arch system from the command line with, other than that one known issue, 0 problems. I did still have to roll back that one application that hasn't worked on Arch for a while. Okay. Shut up with your, it's a command line. You know what? I use the command line because it's more convenient and works. I don't have to. In fact, Linux Mint, my favorite Linux distribution, Linux Mint is always improving, utilizing the GUI to fix things. The next version's even going to have more ways to fix and find system information than they have in the past. And we are starting to see tools to fix your systems if things go awry. All in the GUI without having to go into that command line. In fact, I only go into the command line on Linux Mint when I want to, never because I have to. And here Microsoft is telling us to go into the command line, which most people don't even know how to get there, and execute these scripts in order to do it. There is a PowerShell script that has been shared that blocks a bunch of things. So basically this will block all of these things from happening until the core components are installed, and then it'll start. And so here Microsoft is telling us, yeah, we broke a bunch of stuff. We're still working on it. Of course, a lot of this stuff happens first time back in July. We still haven't resolved it yet. And y'all are complaining to me about a command line on Linux? It's about time we all start looking to see, can we do more with Linux and get rid of Windows for most of our day-to-day living scenarios. And I recognize, if you're a AAA game title player, you are going to need to keep some Windows around. If you have a very, very specific job that requires a very, very specific set of tools, you might need to keep that Windows around. But even with more and more companies going cloud first, dude, you can get away with Linux on most instances in cloud first. Seems like I have to use Microsoft Office for my job. If all you're doing with Microsoft Office is typing up documents and doing basic spreadsheets, you can do that on LibreOffice and nobody would even be the wiser. Now, yes, there are a few niche features that Office may do that LibreOffice can't. And by the way, there's a few niche features LibreOffice does infinitely better than Microsoft Office ever will. So it's a two-way street. And I just encourage the average basic home user, give Linux a try. You might actually find you enjoy your computer again. So let me know your thoughts about all that in the comments down below.